I can't hear you. Hello, hello, hello. I can't hear you. I don't know why. Can you hear me? I don't know. Oh, okay, okay. Their side is stuck. There you go. Good. Uh, I can't hear you still. I can see you. Yeah, now it's good.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think it
Good,
was
good.
my PC. I tried to have
Yeah, well,
it didn't work because like malfunctioning the
oh, that's
heads.
crazy. That's crazy, right? I think I told you before that I don't use mine because they
Yeah,
malfunction all the time on Cambly. And this morning, my first class was at a guy in Campinas, and he's like, "Oh, I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything." And I was like, "It's your headphones. When you have your ones has a cord though, right? To a
yeah,
thing.
yeah. It's
So yours
wired.
should work. Yeah, yeah. So yours should work. So I don't know why yours doesn't. It's the headless ones
It's
don't work
strange.
sometimes.
Yeah. So, how's there in Dayatuba? It is raining a lot there.
Yes, it's raining everywhere. When it rains in Sao Paulo, it rains in Indaiatuba.
Yeah,
So it was
here
raining all
is
this
like a
morning.
lot. Like it's like quite unusual, because many regions here around where I live, it's like flooded.
Flooded. Yeah, it's a big problem. It's an awful problem in Sao Paulo. They need to fix that urgently. Is one of the things they need to bring in. I think they need to bring in engineers from another country because the
Yeah,
Brazilian engineers don't know what to do.
yeah. I've talked to a friend in work that lives in Curitiba, right? And he said that the city down there, it's like really well developed because there is no floods around there.
And
Like
that's weather. Yeah.
everything like works around there. And I was searching about another topic, the subway in Japan, right? That I don't remember if they based all the plan of the subways in the city based on that on the spider webs because
Oh, cool.
architecture that the spiders make the web, it's like how can I say, it's like very precise, very good because so if you see the map of all the subways in Japan, it really looks like a spider web,
Wow.
So it's
Okay.
very well connected
Wow, that's
around the
cool.
cities.
I didn't even know how they started subways because that must have been such a difficult project even to start because you have to build
Yeah,
underground, destroy everything, and then decide how to make the lanes. Yeah, I don't know how it works. Yeah, and Brazil, you don't have a subway, right? Or Sao Paulo doesn't have a subway. It's overground. You have a train stations, but all overground
yes,
as far as I know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it can be luck sometimes, like where you build a city. Maybe it's easier to drain the water out of Curitiba. Also, to Curitiba, even though it's a big city, it has I think 3 million. Sao Paulo, when you take
very
in
big.
it's 12 million officially, but I think it's 16 if you take in ABC, all those other regions, it becomes
Yeah,
massive. And I don't know how they drain the water. I don't know where they start. That's part of the problem. It's too much
yeah,
concrete and the water can't
that's
escape
true.
anywhere. Um, I don't know. You have to have a specialist to understand that system, and then they'll have to build a drainage system. In Japan or in Tokyo, I'm pretty sure they have two massive, if you want to call them tubes or tunnel. It's not really a tunnel, it's more like a tube or a
Hmm.
well, you could say, under their ground. They have three of them, and it's just in the case of floods, but it's also got to do with tsunamis and earthquakes. So that can
Yeah,
change everything when they have earthquakes. So they built these three massive tubes. So as soon as the water comes, they open them up. They open up one, then the second one, and third one, so that it never gets flooded. So they need a system like that in Sao Paulo, but I don't know how they can do it. Um, I don't know because I'm not an engineer, and this would be something that a civil engineer needs to do. Um, but I
hmm,
don't know how they're going to fix this. I think it's like another big thing on the list because every time it floods in Sao Paulo, you lose so much money, first of all, with commercial, with your businesses have to close, but also people get their cars destroyed, their houses destroyed.
Yeah.
It makes no sense, and it happens all the time. So
Yeah, it is a big, very big issue. About Japan, I also saw about that the houses when are the tremors of an earthquake, like the structure of the house below.
yeah,
There's a platform here, and
yeah,
there's like some wheels or
yeah. It looks like that, like a train track or
so when
something.
the house is shaking, they move along with the earthquake, you know.
Yeah, they move around
They
on
don't
the
fall.
rails. Yeah, I've seen that as well. It's a brilliant idea. And again, it's Japan. They're so more advanced. They get to do these things more than anyone else. Unfortunately, they can't bring their ideas abroad. But I think that's what happens when someone has a good idea. Another country is supposed to implement it. So I got a lot of students from Turkey, and when I was teaching on Cambly, I think it was 2 years ago, 40,000 people died in Turkey. And some of my
Wow.
students were from that region, and they said they were lucky. Actually, none of my students lost family, but some of them had their houses destroyed. It was in the southeast of
Wow.
Turkey. But it's crazy because they don't change the buildings. You know, there's no the infrastructure because Turkey is a very corrupt country and it's a poor country as well. So
Mhm.
they don't care about fixing the infrastructure. And the buildings might be made 100 years ago, so they can't even fix some of the buildings. But the new buildings, they're not doing the same thing. They're supposed to have really deep foundation so the buildings won't collapse, but they don't do anything.
Yeah, about Rio Grande do Sul, that it had floodings last
Oh,
year.
yeah.
I've read about it, and it's like almost cyclical because the floodings it already had some other floodings
Floods.
in
You
the
just
past
say floods.
a lot of times. So the people, okay, they want to live there, stay there, and make their family base all their life there, but they need to have structure for that, you know.
Sure. Well, there's a big problem because the problem with Rio Grande do Sul is you can't fix one area. You have to fix
Yeah,
10 things at the same time.
yeah,
Because if
that's
you make like a reservoir or something in one area, the water will be pushed to another area and then just make that area worse. So unfortunately, it's a really, really, really big project to fix because it has to be 10 areas. There's another problem with mismanagement. So this is a problem with very big countries. So like Brazil, you have a
mhm.
centralized government in Brasilia and the local government in Rio Grande do Sul, and they'll have completely different ideas. And sometimes they have to send the projects to Brasilia, and Brasilia will give a different price. Like I have students from Rio Grande do Sul, and they'll say, Rio Grande do Sul will say they can fix the problem for 1 million, not this problem, like another problem, like build a bridge. And then Brasilia said they'll do the project and it has to be 3 million. And it's like, where's the other money going? It's like it's
Yeah,
corruption, and you can't
yeah,
tell what
it's
other people are
pure
doing.
corruption. Yeah, it's very
It's a
complicated.
problem with local government. Again, it's better to have local government sometimes, especially in Brazil and United States. Years ago, I was against this. I was like, oh, why can't they have central governments? Why can't Washington make all the decisions? Why can't Brasilia make all decisions? And the problem is that
Yeah,
you don't know if you're in the central government miles away from the problem. You actually don't know the problem, and you don't know how to fix it properly. So I believe in giving local governments more authority to fix this problem sometimes. But Rio Grande do Sul is a massive problem because it's such a big issue and it costs absolutely millions, if not billions, to fix this issue. And if you fix
sure.
one area, as I said, it will just push the water somewhere else and make it more damage in a different area. So it's really hard to fix this issue.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. When I went to Floripa for the New Year's Eve, I talked to some locals down there, and they talked to me that that feeling of separating from the rest of the country is very
yeah.
strong.
Sure.
It's
Well,
very
it's historical as well. Um,
yes,
I understand why. So I've some of those guys down there, and he said he understands it. He likes being a part of Brazil, but he understands why separating. But his real separation is not because he goes, I'm a gaucho, I'm proud to be this, or he's a German Brazilian as well. He
uh-huh.
just said it's got to do with just they don't like Brasilia controlling everything down in Rio Grande do Sul. It doesn't make
Yeah,
sense for them. And also, it's probably the wealthiest state with a lot of other things. Like they'll show that they
yeah,
have
I
more
think it
structure and
is.
order. With food, it definitely is. Their crops are really good. And that's kind of the issue. So they'll say when they pay their taxes, they don't know what they're paying their taxes for because it's spread all over Brazil. Instead, they could say they could be self-sufficient normally. So I kind of understand that with structure and order. It's kind of the same how America does the same thing, and it's always two states. Sometimes it's Texas, and other times it's
Yeah,
California. It's the two extremes. It's the extremes of the conservatives and the extremes of the liberal want to separate when things are bad.
yeah.
But it's the same why England left. England left the European Union,
The Brexit, right?
Brexit. But I understand why. It makes no sense because the European Union is trying to control everything and telling our countries what to do. And this is even more offensive because Brazil is actually one country. We're separate countries, so Brussels shouldn't be telling people in England what to do. But England was the wealthiest nation in the European Union. And all
Hmm.
what was happening is they were sending money to Europe and they're getting nothing back. And they're saying it's like we're getting
It's not
taxed and
worth it.
penalized. It's not worth it. It wasn't worth it.
I
And
think it has to do with the currency as well, because the English pound, it always was the one of the strongest currencies in the world, you
sure.
know. So I think so. If they want to mix up with the European Union,
Euro, yeah.
with the euro, it's not worth it, you know.
It doesn't work. Yeah, and the other problem is right now the Brexit hasn't functioned very well, but it didn't work not because it shouldn't work. It's because they're being deliberately punished by the European Union.
Yeah,
They're trying to punish everything in their economy and their businesses, and they're still leaving in mass immigration into the country when they can't sustain it. So to me, it's the deliberate destruction of the country, which I think is disgraceful. Again, it shows how corrupt the European Union is. And
yeah,
sometimes, Nicholas, it's good to have a weak currency. It's not good to always have a strong currency. We forget that. So places like Italy and Spain say the euro is actually really bad for them because it
hmm,
keeps the prices higher and they can't bring in business. It would be better to have a weak currency in that case. So, even Brazil, there's always benefits, positives and negatives to weak and strong currency. So some people tell me, like in their business, if they're opening a business, it's good to have a weak currency. Because if you have a weak currency, you can bring American businesses, Chinese businesses to Brazil because it's cheaper labor and cheaper manufacturing costs overall. So
yeah.
that's the
But
benefit of this.
that is true. But in contrast, our buyout power
Yeah,
it's
of
very
course.
low.
That's the thing. That's the problem. Yeah, that's what I meant. There's
Perhaps it's
always
worth it,
extremes.
you know.
So
Uh,
again, I have students from Turkey, and their currency is absolutely terrible right now. But they said
yeah,
it doesn't make sense for theirs because it's so low. Their buying power is really bad. Okay, so again, they can't bring in stuff, basic raw materials to their country, but the labor is cheap. So some people put businesses in Turkey because it's cheap labor, but
hmm,
buying cost is too bad. So it depends how low your currency goes, right?
yeah,
So
that's true. It's like in there in Venezuela, in Argentina, some years ago, that the inflation was very very high, and it was like
yeah.
a, currency of like 1 trillion bolivares.
Yeah, yeah, that's way too insane. Yeah, those countries just have bad management. It's funny because the history of Argentina showed it was very wealthy too at one stage. It was good as Australia and as America, and I don't know what the hell they did to destroy their country. And
Yeah,
Venezuela is similar. Venezuela, again, it's politics and extremism, but they should be one of the wealthiest countries in the world. They have more oil reserves than Saudi
yeah,
Arabia. So when you look at Saudi Arabia growing, having good roads, investing in education, Venezuela didn't even do this when they had the money. So
yeah.
it's shocking. It should be a clean, safe, organized country instead of the worst country.
Yeah, they didn't have the enough money to build the manufacturers there to process this all this oil, you know,
Yeah, that's part of
and
the problem
to
too. Yeah,
perhaps
processing your oil.
export or make the country a better place economically. So it's very complicated.
Well, it is, but it's really bad management on their behalf because if you have so much oil, you should be reinvesting that. You should see
Yeah, sure.
a clean, safe country. You should see good hospitals, good schools, and it must have been corruption by the political class. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah, I remember when I was like a child, almost 10 years ago, when Brazil was about to discover the pre-sal.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
I think it was near the Guianas, the
Yeah, that's where
northeast of
it generally is.
Brazil. And I remember not very well that Brazil couldn't like extract without help of other countries or economic economic. Uh, how can I say?
Economic help. You can type in Portuguese, fala in Português, talvez eu sei.
It's like an encouragement, an economical encouragement.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. Like help. You can say help from other countries, yeah. I'm trying to
Yeah,
think of another word right now. I can't think. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So sometimes those other countries have to invest. Again, look at Saudi Arabia. They couldn't start without the Americans because they didn't know. They didn't know anything. They weren't engineer. Didn't have any engineers in the country. So people to come in and build the equipment. And
yeah.
again, that's fine at the start. You can get benefits for that reason.
Hmm.
Um,
Uh,
um,
I also saw that it was a graphic of that the migration from Brazil to other countries, and there was like a lot of people, like millions of people going out to another countries like Australia, the England, Canada,
yeah, right now that's true.
United States, and I think that all these people that are going out are the ones that has a very big how can I say,
Education.
yeah, education,
A better, it's called brain drain. That's called brain drain. So that happens in a lot of countries when they're poor and underdeveloped. The most intelligent people leave, and then it's harder for these countries to develop. That was probably very common in Brazil, Argentina, all those places would go to America. Nowadays, although I think there's more educated Brazilians and they're more likely to stay because there's opportunities for you.
yeah.
And then if you do stay and the intelligent people stay, then you can grow your country better.
Hmm.
I can't think what other countries do brain drain. Uh,
What
Turkey.
is
Turkey
called
has a massive brain drain. We say
brain
drain, like a
brain drain. Brain drain.
drano cerebral, I guess. Brain, I'll type it in for you. There's the word brain drain
Brain drain, okay.
because it rhymes. That's very common in Turkey right now. So Turkey have a dictator, like a real dictator, who's been in power for 20 years or more. Who's also an ultra conservative Islamic extremist, and
Yeah.
for that reason, and he doesn't care about the economy. So the economy in Turkey is awful. They have massive inflation. Many people who will say are liberal. Well, liberals in Turkey are moderates. Will say not radical liberals. They're moderate people.
Hmm.
They're afraid of Islam and Islamic extremism is in their country. Like they're telling women to wear hijabs, and women are getting mad.
Yeah.
So more the intellectuals are leaving the country, which is really bad for their country. Because if their doctors and engineers leave, their economy is going to get worse. And they're replacing these people with Syrians and Afghanis who are uneducated and more ignorant and more likely to be Islamic extremists. So
Yeah.
there's brain drain right now in Turkey. I don't know in other countries what's have brain drain. Because other countries, when people are leaving, like Iran or Iraq, those people are not intelligent anyway, so they don't have the brain drain, right? Maybe Argentina. In Venezuela had it too. All the intellectuals.
Well, yeah, I remember when I got an Uber coming back from a trip, and the driver was Venezuelan, and I've talked to him, and he was working. He was an engineer from Venezuela, but he didn't have no incentive to work there. It was not just not worth it, and he was making more money here in Brazil as a working as a Uber driver than there as an engineer.
Yeah,
And
it's
he
too low.
wanted to like just gather some money to go back to become an engineer here in Brazil.
Yeah, of course, that's what they wanted. And same in Cuba was the same issue. Doctors, I remember watching a documentary. It's a good one. It was called Cuba and the Cameraman. It's on Netflix. It's a really good one actually because this documentary is done over like 30 or 40 years. So it's really, so he goes to Cuba in the 1970s, and then he goes back again over the years, and he meets the same people that he met over the years, getting older and older. But he'll meet a doctor, and the
Oh
doctor's
yeah, I saw some shorts about this.
it was
I
really good one.
remember it was about a mechanic or something.
Who did he meet? No, I don't think he met a mechanic. I'm trying to think. He met three different people. No, and two of them did not. I think nearly they didn't have jobs. Most of them didn't have jobs. The people he went back and met were just poor people who didn't have proper jobs. And
Uh-huh.
three were old men who were farmers. So they would work their land, and people would steal their cows. And they had no cows, and then they couldn't work.
Yeah.
But he would go to the hospital and he met like a doctor, and the doctor's working on $25 per month. 25, that's crazy.
Wow.
But the thing is, later on, you'll see the doctor working for $25, and someone who's working like an Uber driver, well, not an Uber, like
Making a lot
driving like
more.
a rickshaw, like a little bicycle ride,
Yeah.
will be making like $20 a day or something like this. But the doctor's making $25 a month. It's
Wow, that's
absurd.
crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
they don't have any.
I saw some guys like talking that if you do not make at least $1,000 here in Brazil, it's not worth like you can make more as a janitor in the US than
But that
here.
doesn't. Yeah, but that doesn't matter because you're thinking the cost of living in America might be 4, 5, 6 times more. So it doesn't matter. So it does. Like I
Mhm.
will say in Brazil, like for example, you
Mhm.
earn less money in Brazil, but in
Mhm.
Ireland we earn 4 times more. But if you go to Dublin right now and you're an engineer, an accountant, a teacher, a nurse, you're going to be sharing a room in a house with 4 people. You understand? That happened to all my friends. It doesn't matter. They went to college, got their qualifications. And in Ireland too, we have to go to the best colleges. If you go to a weaker college and get like a 3-year diploma instead of the top degree, you don't get a job either. They won't give you the job. Because in Brazil, maybe 25% of people go to college. I don't know the statistic now. And in Ireland, it's around 75% or doing something, getting some proper training. So you have to go to the better college to get the job.
Sure.
And there's no housing anymore. So you go to Dublin. No, all my friends, cousins, my sister all went to Dublin. They all left. They can't afford to live there because you're stuck in a room in a house with 4 people. It doesn't feel like you're living a good quality of life. So it doesn't matter if you're earning 40,000 in Dublin. Understand?
Wow.
€40,000. You're just going to feel like you're poor. And what's happening too is some people might come in from Poland or even from Brazil and they'll go, "We're going to give you €25,000." And the Brazilian's like, "Wow, I'm making over 115,000 reais. I'm rich." But then they realize, oh, you need over, way more to live in the country. So it makes no sense. You're never going to save enough money to buy a house. And if you do rent your own apartment, it's all gone straight away. So you're going to feel poor too. So it just depends where you live. You understand? So I
Yeah.
said to some of my Brazilian students who are engineers, like computer engineers, they have a better life in Brazil because they're either renting their own apartment or buying their own house in Brazil.
Mhm.
So they earn less money, but it goes on again what the cost of living is.
Mhm. I saw some guys comparing the minimum wage from here in Brazil and in the US. The difference is it's like very huge.
Massive, sure.
The not about the nominal price of the wages in between Brazil and the US, but what you can buy with all the money you win. Like
That's true too. Yeah. So
he
it's
made a very distinctive comparison, like buying a Porsche, a very expensive car.
okay.
So here in Brazil, like the car cost like almost 500,000, you know, and in the US it costs like 42,000. And he made
Oh,
the
that sounds too
comparison.
cheap. That sounds too cheap for me.
He made the
42,000.
comparison.
Yeah.
How many months would take without spending any cent for buying the car?
Hmm.
Okay, that's an okay comparison, but I wouldn't buy just a Porsche, you know. Uh, it's like a very
Luxurious car for rich people, right? That's a
yeah,
waste of money too.
yeah, but you can see also that here in Brazil it is a very luxurious car, but there in US it might not be, you know.
I would think it would be. I suppose there's different types of Porsche now. Yeah, it depends. It just, yeah, I understand. So in Brazil, yeah, your salaries jump way more. Do you understand? So
Yeah,
that's why I thought it was weird because I was like, okay, 1,200 is the minimum wage, but then I was like, oh wait, someone else gets not 2,000, they get 3,000, which is nearly 3 times more. And in Ireland, that doesn't happen. Do you understand?
yeah.
They'll get 1.5 times more. If you get 2 times more, it's really good. If you get 3 times more, you're excellent. Also, Nicholas, the taxes on your salary is higher in Ireland. It's a mandatory 20%. But if you're one of the wealthy people, if you make over, I don't know if it's over 40,000 or over 50,000 now, whatever you make after, we'll say 50,000, we'll just say,
A month.
you're going to pay like 45% tax or something crazy. So if you make
Wow.
60,000, we'll say the 10,000 after 50,000, you'll pay something like I don't know, like 4,000 of that will be taxed. So it gets really higher the more money you earn. The taxes go really crazy high. But not less so in America and less in Brazil. So what's crazy in Brazil, you'll read something online and you'll go, okay, someone who's a politician might make 20,000. Wasn't it something crazy like that? Politicians were getting
Yeah.
20,000 in Sao Paulo. And that's
Uh,
absurd. So you get one person making 1,000 and someone's making 20,000. I was like, wow, that's a 20 times difference in the salary. That doesn't happen in Ireland. A politician might make 80 to 100,000 maximum, I think, in Ireland. So it might be 4 times the maximum. And Brazil, it's 20 times, so there's a massive difference in what people earn.
Yeah, I was reading some books about economic topics, and there's something called a Laffer curve. There is like a point where the state cannot obtain more taxes than they're already obtaining. So it's basically there is a curve
Mhm.
of the tax that the state can reach, and there's a point, there is the maximum point between the population rebelling and like just
Oh, I'm paying the taxes. Okay.
paying taxes. So you wouldn't work if you had to pay like 100% tax for the IRS, right? So
Sure. Yeah, it
it's
would make no sense.
it's not worth to
Well,
do any type of work.
look, you just look at America right now. So the states are different in America and they have tax relief in some states. So what state is everyone leaving? That's the first question in America. People are leaving California the most. Why? There's lots of, well, first, it's a highest tax state, I think, in America. And where are they going? They're going to Texas, Florida, and Delaware. Why? Because they're the lowest tax states. So it shows that people who are intelligent want to keep their money than spend their money. And then they're more likely to go to a place where there's some. I think Delaware and Texas have the lower taxes, and Florida
Mhm.
don't have. Florida don't have property tax. So if you buy a property, you never have to pay tax on it. So for that reason, California is it's too high. But also people are leaving California because they say it's very messy now. There's no police, no laws, and it's gone crazy. So it's like it becomes it's quite weird. It's too liberal on one side, and it's too restrictive when it comes to taxes and business laws. So when you open a business, you have to think of maybe everything about the environment first. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And then you get punished for this, and then you have high taxes. So people are saying, okay, you can't open a business, and the taxes are too high. And other liberal laws, but more crime and drugs makes people want to leave. So again, it's like trying to find the balance of those things. It showed the same thing happened in England recently. Because of tax reasons, people, well, again, England's full and there's no housing, but also for tax reasons, people are leaving because they said, how
mhm.
do you get more people in? You give them lower taxes, you get the more intelligent people. So I could kind of understand why it's good in Brazil, actually, if you're a business person or an engineer. And I can understand why people might leave to go to live in the United States for those tax
Mhm.
reasons. It's better than Canada. Canada is safer, but there's no housing in Canada either. And the hospitals are all broken in Canada and you pay high taxes.
Yeah, I imagine. Um, I have a friend that lives in Denmark, in Copenhagen,
They should
and
have
he
high
says
taxes.
that the human development index around there, it's very high. So, but in order, you pay very high taxes. But
Sure.
is
But
that
that,
thing like you can pay a lot of taxes, but you have a
you
much
see them
quality,
returned. Yeah, but that's, you see, there's a
much
difference
more in
too.
return.
So yeah, but there's something different in that respect that people don't take into account, and that's the social and cultural identity of the people you're living with.
Yeah,
See, that wouldn't work in Brazil because your mentality is all wrong. It
of
doesn't work
course.
in most countries when the mentality is wrong. It doesn't work in Arabic countries. It doesn't work in African countries. It doesn't work in South and Central American countries. It can work in European countries because it's the mentality is different. So Danish people are all very well educated in general, and therefore it's a safe, clean country. So people like paying their taxes because people are more equal and the same, and it feels like it
Yeah,
works. While in other countries, like if you have a good social welfare system, like in Ireland and England, all the criminals, the lower class people, or the working, or the poor ones, will rob it on purpose. You know what I mean? They'll go, oh, if I don't work and I have 4 kids, I can get a free house. And you see, that's what they do. We'll see that in Ireland and England with our gypsies.
uh,
And it's the same in Brazil. I would say, like, if you had more taxes and you tried to help poor people, it's good to help poor people But the mentality in Brazil is wrong. That I think the poor people go, hey, this is a great way to get a free house and get free money
Yeah,
and Bolsa Familia. And
yeah,
I don't like this. So I
that's true.
believe in helping the poor, and it's good to incentivize them with like free food in the schools, and it's good to have some Bolsa Familia, but like for one kid, and maybe Mia Casa, Mia Vida, whatever, like incentivize
Yeah,
people. But they have to want it. They have to make them somewhat educated or save money to do this. But if you reward bad behavior, you're going to see all that bad behavior. And unfortunately, you see that in Europe. So why is it happening in Europe? Is again, we opened our borders, and a lot of migrants are coming in from bad countries who have bad mentality, and they're destroying what would be our good center left wing systems of good social welfare. So people are like, okay, I don't want to pay more taxes anymore, and I don't want to give someone from a foreign country something for free. I find
yeah,
that so offensive in Ireland too, because someone will come in from Romania to Ireland, and they might have 4 kids, and they demand a free house, but we have no housing. And I'm like, this is criminal. I was like, these people are criminals, and these
yeah,
people are racist to me. They're not adding to my society. They're just coming to take and steal from us. And that's happening all over Europe. And again, if you look at the politics in Europe, you'll see people more pushing to the right side of politics in Germany and France. It's for the
yeah,
same reason. Extreme liberalism doesn't work. There has to be a system and rules in society, or else you could cause chaos and anarchy. Again, if you leave if everyone, like if England or France has open borders, everyone wants to live there. So what happens? Everyone
yeah,
wants to live there. You don't build the schools, you don't build the houses, you don't build hospitals. What's going to happen? There's nowhere to live. All the house prices are really high. You'll see homelessness. The hospitals don't work. The schools don't work.
mm,
You'll have more crime rates if you don't know the background of people coming in. You'll see Islamic extremism, and this got to do with radical liberal systems, which are
yeah,
happening the last 10 years. And initially, we want to be open and welcoming, and now it's just chaos and anarchy, right? So again,
yeah,
it's all about, again, as I said, the balance of left, right, wing thinking. You have to be somewhere in the middle. Right now,
yeah,
we're way over here. In Europe, it's way over here with extreme liberalism,
yeah. I
and we need
saw
to bring
about
it
this
back
in
to the center.
England. That was this huge wave of immigrants coming, mainly the Islamic immigrants, and a lot of people like complaining because, like you said, you do not know the background of many of them, so the crime rates tend to
Yeah,
be higher.
and they rob the social welfare system because they come as poor, uneducated migrants. So they just come, and they come as a burden to society. They are negative because they're just, again, it might be competing with houses and jobs too and hospitals, but they come
Yeah,
to take from your taxes. So it's like, it makes no sense.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's really, really bad for our countries. But those countries don't have any incentive to change. That's what I realized. Like, I have students from Saudi Arabia. I mean, their country's getting wealthier. Young people are more open and friendly. But
Hmm.
I'll tell you, Nicholas, if you want to meet extremists, you just talk to a Saudi Arabian sometimes. And when they open up to me, they'll I'll find out they're angry. Like, I'll ask them, what makes you angry? And then it's like, they change completely. Liar! I hate liar. They're liar everywhere in my country. And we're like, holy shit. And this happened around like over 20 times with my students.
Well,
They say something like "Voila," which means "God's." I swear to God, I'll do something, and people don't. And then I asked a woman then who was kind of calm, and she goes, "Yeah, they'll tell me they'll give me my holidays, and they won't do it. They'll tell me to give me a promotion, they never do it. They do it on purpose. They just lie." And I was like, "Okay." Then I asked some guys, it's like, "Oh, who do you think is the most annoying people in the world?" or something like. It was just a funny question. They're like, "Women. Women are all stupid. I hate women." And then the next class. You can lie to a woman, but you can never lie to a man. Never, never lie to a man. But women, yes, they're dumb and lie.
wow,
I was like, okay.
wow,
And I get people asking me, do I want to be Muslim?
that's funny.
Everywhere should be Muslim. And I was like, okay, there hold Islamic extremist views
That's
too.
funny.
And I'm like, okay, but that's
That's
some of
more
the Saudi
complicated.
Arabians. Yeah, some of the people in those regions. I don't trust them. And I don't trust the ones from Syria either. I had 5 Syrians. One was a woman, really nice. The other 4 Syrians I had as students were Islamic extremists. So I'm beginning to, before I go, okay, most Muslims are really nice. But then I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's not like 1 or 2% are ISIS or the extremists. Maybe it's actually way higher. Maybe it's 20% or 40% have
Yeah,
those extreme views.
cannot know.
I don't know. So, but when I see someone who's a conservative Muslim, or if a woman wears a hijab, I'm more than likely to think she might hold extreme views, right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's complicated. And here in Brazil, I see that all those programs, like you said, Bolsa Família, Minha Casa Minha Vida, those ones are almost like a political maneuver, just
Also, too,
in
yeah.
order to get votes from the poorer population, because one that they do not have the education to understand what's around and the political scenario, and why do they have those programs. Uh, it is really to help them to build a better life, or just to make them comfortable and stuck on the same level forever in order to
Well,
they.
those one, well, yeah, but the problem is there are real poor people. I understand what the argument is. Okay, you
Yeah,
know, but I do believe you should help people, and it's good to have a
sure.
basic of it. Like I believe in the what you call it, cesta basco in the shops. They should have it at a certain regular price for very poor people because
Yeah,
in Brazil it is unequal. So these things are really good, but we have to have an incentive to like. I agree with the incentive of trying getting people from public schools into university, but I don't believe on the racial quotas. I believe it's just helping poor people, right?
yeah,
I
me
don't believe.
too.
I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I think it really doesn't make sense, the racial quotas,
No, it's
because
dumb.
uh, if you imagine, like, you're a parent, and you have the condition to pay to your kids a good education, so you do not have the duty if another parent didn't have the same condition.
Hmm.
You just want to give your children like the best conditions of education and
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
So the racial quotas, it's it breaks this, like, it doesn't make sense, because
Yeah.
if you
Because
think in an economic aspect, it makes much more sense to give poor kids
yeah, exactly. My dad benefited.
condition.
My dad's from England, right? So my dad benefited from that when he was a kid. So he was poor. Again, at the time, more people were white, whatever. My dad's Irish English, and he grew up poor. But
Yeah,
he was really high IQ. And when he was a kid, he passed the exam to go into a private school that was public. So it was a school just for kids who were more gifted, we'll say, or more intelligent. And
yeah,
he passed that exam. And it was for like maybe the top 8% of the population. He went to one of those schools. But again, it's just based on the exam. It's not based on anything else. So when he was in his
sure.
class, he was poor Irish, and he was a poor black guy in his class too in England at the time who was Jamaican. So, he's like, he passed the exam. So it's fair enough. It's just for poor people. And it's the same
Sure.
in Brazil. Otherwise, it becomes discrimination. So I always say, my parents grew up poor, my wife's parents grew up poor, and they're all white. So it makes no sense to have it. And of course, you can be educated and of any other race as well. So that's why I think it doesn't make sense. But there has to be an incentive. Problem I will say with Brazil is that it's so big of a country, it's hard to fix. And you have to think of problems state per state. Like, again, when we're European countries, the problems in Ireland were the problems of Ireland. We had to fix their problems.
Sure.
But in the European Union, you saw something years ago, you won't remember this now, about Greece. The Greek economy had collapsed, I
Yeah,
think.
I remember around like 2008, right?
I think it was before. No, 2008
Before
was yeah, because in
the
Ireland it was 2008. That was the financial banking crisis was 2008. That happened in
the
America,
like
Ireland. So, but in Greece it was a little bit before that. And what happened was that they had their own government, but their own government didn't do anything. They were just getting money from the European Union because you can become lazy,
yeah,
right? You can go, oh, the responsibility is the European Union. And then they didn't organize their country. They didn't put the taxes properly. And then they just went broke. But it was their own fault. It was bad management, bad government. But it was really having no government and no accountability and responsibility in your own country. They put it in Brazil, like the European Union or Brussels, right? And
hmm,
it's the same thing with Brazil. I see it as such a big country that you have the states and the centralized government, and they blame at each other. And I hate that. It's like, okay, they can say it's Brazilia's fault if you're in a small state, and then Brasilia blames the states, and it's like, oh God, you can't do this. You have to have though accountability for each state, really, and they should be measured every year. I think every year they should measure the progress of a state by
hmm,
education, by
sure,
economy and development, and see what you can prove. And the ones who have the best government at that time that make the biggest changes, the government can reward them with money and say, look, you did such a good government, we're going to invest more money in your state. I think like the state of Syrah right now, and it was really good by education. So that's excellent. So the government should reward Syrah and try and improve it in other ways. I don't know, because it shows that area is getting better and better, like the most educated people, which is surprising because generally it's the south. Economics in the south of
Mhm.
Brazil is brilliant. Economics is bad in the north, and it's
Yeah.
underdeveloped and less educated. So really, there has to be an incentive from your state to think about something in the northeast of the country and the very far west of the country to economically develop these areas and incentivize intelligent people to live there. Um, did you see that one? I don't know what state it was in now. The Chinese were planning to build a new city in one of the northeast states. I don't know if it was in the interior of Pernambuco or the interior of Paraíba. Oh, and I can't
Maybe
remember the.
Sarah or something
No, it
like
wasn't Syrah. It was one of those other smaller ones, like Alagoas. It was one of those. But they were planning to build a whole new city. It was a crazy idea. They wanted to build it.
wow.
Like the city was like
I
200,000
did not
people.
heard about this.
Okay, but it was banned. They blocked it. But I thought this was a fantastic idea because I was like, okay, what the Northeast is a
So
new
it
city,
was
new government.
basically just an incentive to get more educated people, more intelligent people to work there, and
Well,
just like make the index higher.
well, I think it wasn't by the state of Brazil. It was actually the Chinese were planning it. So the Chinese wanted to build a new city in Brazil. So it was an incentive of the Chinese to make a brand
Wow.
new, absolutely modern, clean city in the northeast of Brazil. And they were going to invest billions, I think, in this city. And it was really a fantastic project. Like the idea of Brasilia was Kubitschek, right? But I think this idea was another brilliant idea because I said the investment really needs to be in the northeast of Brazil. And then everyone would want to live there, create a good economy there. I'm sure, though, I think that they were against it because they were afraid of the Chinese exploiting the situation.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if this city
I
is,
thought about this.
I don't know
Uh,
if it's
uh,
Mataraka. Is there a city called Mataraka? No. Oh, there is a city called Mataraka in Paraíba. I don't know if it's this one. I don't know why this is in my head.
uh,
Let me
like
see.
the Chinese government trying to
Oh, I found it. I'm going to send you a link. And I think it's this city.
uh,
Mataraka. Mataraka.
Makaraka.
Okay, I can. What I'm going to do is I'll send you a link to the site. 1 second. Oh,
Okay.
1 sec. Um,
Wow, that's
it was 9 trillion. I don't know if $9 trillion or 9 trillion reais
$9 trillion.
or 9 trillion reais. Maybe I guess would make more sense. I don't know, but they want. I told you
Guys,
they
oh,
wanted to do the.
anyway, that's a lot of money.
It is, but it's such a great
Wow.
investment for Brazil. I was like, wow, take
Wow.
it. No, that was what I was
Maybe
always
let me
thinking too. I was thinking the north of Brazil needs some big development, and I said the same thing before to other people. It needs something like a Brasilia. They need to start a new city, clean, safe, organized from the start.
Yeah, it could be a good idea, but anyway, you have like the situation where the Chinese government trying to impose their idea of like socialism around the city and perhaps
Yeah,
like
but that's not.
going back
Oh, that's
inside of
funny.
Brazil.
It's not social. China's capitalistic, and it's not socialist. It's funny.
Yeah, it's like a mix of both. Like the ideology, they try to follow the socialism, while they apply the market capitalism, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of weird. What they have is like really a dictatorship or a fascist government, or if you want to say, because they only have one
Yeah,
party. But they do have kind of things with capitalism because a lot of people can get really rich there. Um, saying that, even though I don't agree with China, um, the country is very safe and clean overall, and their index of quality of life is way better. Like it's way safer to live in China than Brazil, and people are really well educated nowadays in China. So I don't know. It's hard for me to attack them fully because I see them as being developed and more clean and safe.
yeah,
Um, and their cities are so modern. What's also surprising when I'm talking to Chinese people who live abroad, they only lived in America. They're like, "Oh my God, it's so terrible in America. There's so much crime, so much drugs on the street. It's so dirty." They keep on thinking everywhere is dirty compared to China. And also, they tell me like some woman was saying, "Oh, I went to the hospital in Canada. It, I went 6 months ago, and I'm supposed to see a specialist. They never get back to me." It's really crazy. In China, you get to see the specialist straight away, and she goes, it's way cheaper in China than it
wow,
is in all these other places. So certain things are good in China. The only problem is they
sure.
work and study too hard. They're forced to work 996, those type of hours. It's crazy.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people talking that they would like to go to China to get to know more the culture, and I also met a guy that went there to work like I thought it was for around 2 years, and he said that it was very good. It was a very good experience work there because their work
Ethic, yeah.
ethic it's like a very high.
Oh
So
yeah, but it's too strict. Believe me, believe me. It's what they complain about most in China is the work ethic is too it's too hard and too strict, and my students hate that. That's one of the things they dislike about China is the working hours and the strictness of their jobs. And some of my students are bullied by their bosses. It's a problem too.
how
Yeah,
how
it's more. So I'm finding that China has more bullying compared to other countries in the workplace, and it's kind of strange too. It's like if someone becomes their boss, they might become aggressive towards you. To be normal when you're your friend, and then when they're your boss, they're going to bully you.
they're more aggressive, right?
Yeah. So I got that with a
Yeah,
few
that's
people. Not
strange.
everyone. I mean, look, China's huge, right? So it's hard to say if it's all the same everywhere. But if you work in Beijing, Shanghai, you have to work. You might get 996, so
Mm-hmm.
12 hours a day work in some places. Um, Outside the big cities, some women tell me that men are more sexist outside the big cities. Even though there's an equality, women are really well educated, but women are more likely in relationships. Kind of probably in Brazil too, right? Men are more aggressive in relationships in Brazil. There's more femicide in Brazil. There's a
Yeah.
problem with that in China as well. They said, well, not very aggressive, but so a lot of my students told me this too. So I was surprised at that one.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't remember which country it was. It for if it was Japan or South Korea that the working hours were very long.
they can in both.
The work culture is
Well,
very
it's all three. It's all three.
aggressive.
So again, I have students from all three of these countries, and they all have the same mentality, and it's the same crazy work ethic. It
Yeah,
was work hard until you. So in Japan, in the 1980s and 90s, there was a phenomenon called karoshi. That's what it was called, and it kind of means murder, but it's the way you say it. It also means dying of overwork. So they'd get men in particular, and they'd work them like slaves and put them a lot of pressure on them, so they die and get heart attacks. But also in
like a
Japan, there
pure
was
burnout.
per burnout. Yeah, they just die because they're so stressed. But in Japan, there was it was even more. It was even worse still because the companies. Listen to what the companies used to do. The companies would take life insurance out on the manager. So they kind of said, "We're going to put this guy in a management position. We're going to get him work 60 hours or 70 hours a week, and then we're going to make him do really stressful things." And then he got a heart attack and died. And then they received like $500,000 or yen or whatever on the guy's body.
What?
Yes, they were. So it was like they were deliberately murdering him so they could cash in on his life insurance.
Just to get the insurance.
Yeah, and it could be high insurance because they could
Wow.
say he's a valuable employee, he's a manager, and then they kill him off. So it was a great way to make money, and it kept on happening in Japan. You always hear that in America, though. In
I did
America,
not
it's
know
insane.
about this.
But in America, you can get life insurance
Wow.
on your wife or even someone you don't know. Sometimes it's really crazy, and then you can kill the person. It's absurd.
Wow, that's very strange.
No,
But
it doesn't happen now because it was investigated. Also in Japan, the work culture is changing a bit because they became more aware of the situation of overwork. Okay, so some of my students told me that sometimes you have to wait till the boss goes home. So if the boss
yeah.
stays and work till 10 o'clock, you have to stay and work till 10 o'clock. So I had this Japanese guy, and he said, "Yeah, my boss didn't work till 11 o'clock, so I can't get the train home. So he has to go drinking with the boss too. You have to drink with him with a sake, right? And then he had to stay in
Yeah,
one of
I
those
remember
tiny
this.
hotels."
Yeah, I remember you saying this. About South Korea, I know that the education culture of the exams to go to college is very strict. Like the students like study the whole day
Yeah.
to get a chance to pass on the exam, you know. And they if they do not pass the exam, they even commit suicide
Yeah.
because it's like their
Shame.
only opportunity in life to change their lives, you know.
Well, there's another phenomenon also in Japan, and it's in South Korea and China as well, but they don't talk about it. It's called hikikomori. Don't ask me how to spell that word. You'll find a documentary on it. I don't know how to spell it. Hick it more. We'll kind of guess like this, okay? Uh, I don't know how to spell it. If you type it in Google, you might find it. You'll find a documentary on it. And I don't know how to spell it, by the way. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I found it here.
Okay. Well, it's the phenomenon of shame, guilt, and shame. So in Japanese culture, you have to follow the rules, right? And everyone wants to be the smartest. If you fail an exam, you feel like a failure. If you're not the top, you feel like a failure. So especially it's happening with young men. They suffer from depression. So it's like depression in other countries, but it's an extreme form of depression built on guilt and shame, where they lock themselves in a bedroom and don't come out. Okay.
Yeah, I've heard about this because this culture is it's very common around there. There are even some animes that show this, like the situation where the student tries to pass the exam to a university, college, whatever, and if they fail, like they are all the shame in the world, like for their
Yeah.
family, for the community, for Japan. So
Yeah, and they even have cram schools. Even like in Japan, they go to school, and then after school, they go to another school till like 8 or 9 o'clock. It's so insane. It's called cram. So these kids are depressed. They don't have friends, and they're studying. A lot of
insane.
again, I have my Japanese students, and some of them are shy. They're like some people are introverted, but the Japanese are more likely to be shy, and they'll say they're shy.
Shy.
Shy, timido. It's a
Would you
difference
say
between
it's
introvert.
more shyness or being introverted?
No, they're shy. So Chinese are introverted, but when I talk to them, they'll become extroverted sometimes. They're just shy, or they're more introverted. But I think some of the Japanese are shyer. They seem afraid to speak to me. You know, they're a bit uncomfortable. And even when I give them options of talking to me or having like a lesson, some of them will just send me the lesson. Even if they don't like the lesson, they'll read the lesson and like, do you not just want to talk to me? I can ask you questions, and I can tell they're a little bit afraid. So there's something
Yeah,
about shyness, which Japan. So they need to open up a little bit more and be more relaxed and be more social.
more
But
comfortable with the people they're talking about. Yeah.
and I had a student who had hikikomori, and he was a college professor. And I asked him and he studies hikikomori as a sociologist, because I study sociology as well. So I was talking to him about it, and I
Yeah.
was like, how can you change that? And he was like, he didn't really know how to change because he's an introvert and he was shy, but he was a professor. But he told me
Yeah.
he got out of his hikikomori because he didn't want to talk to anyone. He just go home to his house and read manga, and he didn't want to speak to anyone too. But he wasn't severe where he locked his room. Someone asked him to go cycling once, and he said he went on the cycling ride, and he said he felt so much better. Why? Because when you exercise, your blood's flowing and you release the positive chemicals of dopamine and serotonin.
Endorphin, right?
So,
Yeah.
so he felt really good about himself, and then he started talking to people, and then he opened up a little bit. And he goes, "Oh, I felt so much better." It's like, oh, that's what some of the people who have hikikomori need to do. Just get out of themselves and do some exercise
Yeah.
and do something in a team, and they'll
Get
feel
some
better.
sunlight, you know.
Yeah, also. But I realized I thought the phenomenon was only in Japan until I met another college university professor in South Korea, because there's a massive problem with men who locking themselves in their room and not doing anything. But she didn't give it a name. She didn't say it was hikikomori. And I was like, oh, that's like what they have in Japan. She goes,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they same stress.
Perhaps it happens more with Asian people, Asian men.
Well, no, it's the culture of these three countries are very
That
pressurized. It's
tends
study, work
to
hard.
cause more of this, right?
Yeah, that causes more of that. And I found out the same thing happened in China. Why? I
Yeah.
was talking to some woman who said her brother was locked himself in the room, and I was like, okay, it sounds like
Yeah.
hikikomori. So stress in these situations.
Yeah. Here in Brazil, we don't see that a lot. Like,
No, I don't think it exists. Unless
uh,
maybe the Japanese Brazilians have pressure.
I see people like, oh, okay, I didn't pass the exam or something quite similar. So okay, it is what it is. Uh, 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 let's go to another thing, you know.
Yeah, go to
So
another university or try something else. But I think in Brazil, you're kind of there's no there's less of a value on education for other people, for lots of people. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They mightn't care so much. There's no pressure. So like
that's
we'll say
good.
my niece
The
failed
pressure
her
is
exam,
much less.
and her parents didn't care that she failed her exams. Like my niece here, she's failed her exams, but they didn't really care. They just said, oh, "Okay, just try again," or they just take her out of the school and put her in
Yeah,
another school.
I saw a woman that was studying for try to get in the medicine university, the medicine course, and she was trying for already 10
I
years
saw this. I saw
trying
that
to pass
video.
the exam.
It's absurd.
For me, it's craziness.
Yeah,
You know,
this is
I
absurd.
don't think it's worth it because, okay, perhaps you have the dream to be a doctor, but when you almost lost 10 years of your life,
Yeah,
was that really worth it, you know?
yeah, and there's another problem, Nicholas. Even that she got in, is she going to be a good doctor? Because she's still going to fail
Yeah,
her exams, these other
of
exams.
course. But, she have to maybe accept the fact that she might not be as intelligent as a normal doctor would be, you
Yeah,
know?
that's what I'm thinking too. It's stupid. In Ireland, it's really, really, really difficult. It's almost impossible to be a doctor. But I think in my country, it's too strict because they force you to have maximum points on the exams. I can't remember the exam you do in Brazil. The maximum points to enter university. But it's silly because I'm kind of like, in Ireland, you need maximum points. You need to be fluent in French. And I'm like, this is stupid. You don't need to be fluent in French. Okay. You don't need to be fluent in Irish to be a doctor.
Yeah,
And if you get like 2 points or 3 point less, you can't be the doctor. And I was like, this is too ridiculous. They need to lower to like, instead of having maximum points, 600 points, they should have
yeah.
580 points or something.
Yeah, and another point, she was making that those cursinhos, that
Yeah.
courses to
I
try
know
to
this.
get into the university, and I know it is very expensive. So perhaps she has a family that can pay for her to attend these courses. Wouldn't be much better to get this money and try to apply to something else, like
Yeah,
maybe
something similar.
go to a
Bioengineering, maybe.
university, try another course like biomedicine or
Yeah, that's what I was
biologist
thinking.
or something similar, or perhaps even I don't know, start a business, a shop, or whatever. You know, get this money because it is a lot of money. If you count all those
Yeah,
months
10 years
around
as
this
well.
10 years, it's a lot of money. You know, you can do
Crazy.
lots of things. So for me, it's very crazy. I remember when I just entered college, and I was thinking, what I'm gonna do if I don't pass nothing? Because I knew that my family wouldn't have the money to pay for me to go to a private university. So okay, if I don't get into public university and pass the exam, what am I going to do? I just what I'm going to try to get any work and gather some money, you know.
Yeah, yeah, you could do that. And
Just,
also, there's courses online. You know, it's funny. You can
yeah,
study.
and it's much cheaper.
I mean, if you're
So
someone who
we
liked
have a lot of options.
computers, if you like computers, though, you can have there's free courses on things like Python and everything else online.
Sure,
You
sure.
have the
There's a lot of
ability.
things online. There's a lot of things online, a lot of courses from different topics,
I
different.
did my course online when I studied. So, because when I went to college the first time, I dropped out. I didn't like my course. It was construction, and kids did. Some of people I went to college with, they studied technical things in their high school, and I didn't. So they're more advanced than me. So I dropped out. I didn't know I could change course at the time, which is what I should have done. And instead, I said, okay, I might as well do open university. So I was at home and I studied from home, but I did it from a university in Holland. Because I said, do I need to be in a classroom to study sociology? Can't I just read everything in books? Because that's all
Yeah,
it really is. So that's what I did instead, you know?
yeah, and public universities are very complicated because there are a lot of teachers that don't want to teach. You know, their
Oh, there
classes is
are.
just like I
Yeah.
remember a class about artificial intelligence that the teacher just asked me to make a PowerPoint and make a presentation for the class, and he was coming back from the beach and he couldn't attend the class at the day, so he just asked me
Sum it up.
to
Give a summary of what.
no, just to post my presentation to give it to him on email, and then he just passed me on the subject. I had to do nothing,
Yeah,
nothing,
this is a big issue too. You
and
know,
I
I'm sure lots
don't
of
understand
teachers.
this really.
Well, I'm sure lots of teachers lose their passion for their job after a couple of years, maybe. And same at university, they just have a big salary and they can't do anything else. So they stay
Yeah,
as teachers.
the,
Uh,
the, That's madness.
It's madness, but I'm sure it's boring for them too. But I don't know what they can do.
Yeah, but
Um,
they're receiving like at least 20,000
yeah,
reais per month
yeah,
to do nothing.
yeah, an insane salary. Think of how high their salaries and the college professors. Same in America, and they say they're left leaning. Shouldn't they reduce their salary?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
Nicholas, our time's
all
up.
right, Cormac. Have a nice weekend.
You
See you.
too.